Good morning. It's March the 8th, 2018. Time to kick off another trading today. We'll start with a disclaimer. Hypothetical or simulated performance results have certain limitations. Unlike an actual performance record, simulated results do not represent actual trading. Also, since trades have not been executed, the results may have been overcompensated for the impact of any of certain market factors, such as lack of liquidity. Simulated trading programs in general are also subject to the fact they're designed with the benefit of hindsight. No representation is being made that any account will or is likely to achieve profit or losses similar to those shown. Well, the overnight news was really pretty quiet, and there's none scheduled for today. We've got jobless claims at 2:20, and nobody pays any attention to it. We have quarterly service survey. Information services, previously it was up 8%. Don't have an estimate. Again, no one will pay any attention to it. Natural gas minus 58B. They drew from storage, which is typical for this time, so the energy markets will be paying attention to it. Draghi speaks at 8:30 Eastern. He can move the euro 1 to 2 points if he says something significant. Current policy is supposed to be unchanged. That's the way the market is playing it. There are a couple of analysts out there that are saying that forward guidance will show the taper can start after September, and interest rates can go up after September. And if that is the case, dollar would go down and treasuries would go down. Yesterday late, message came out of the White House that Mexico and Canada might be exempted from the tariff increases. That's probably tied to NAFTA negotiations, some ways, some form, to get them to the table or to speed up the negotiations that are going on. So we won't know how that tariff issue is resolved for some time, in my opinion. Tomorrow's non-farm payroll numbers would normally freeze the market. So Draghi, tariff announcement, I think they said it was postponed. It was going to be today, but I think the tariff announcement has been postponed. Those are probably the two biggest news events that we have today. I think we're in a trading range because of tomorrow's non-farm payroll, subject to news spikes. So just like yesterday, you can't be complacent. You have to have risk protection out there because of what might be said. Best buys will be in this 24, 28 area down here, picking up those areas. Right here, down in there, we should expect some buying right here just below the buck too, just because it is the buck. So first sell is going to be 2 to 6, and then we'll make 8 to 12 sell 2. Excuse me, make that trade 1 to 5. Come in right under resistance, that's sell 1, and we'll make 7 to 11 sell 2. On the buy side, think we're headed down a little bit, so 25, 29 buy 1, 17 to 21 buy 2. Okay, we'll have the announcement today for next week's auction. That can cause a reaction in the Treasuries market if it's away from expectations. So that comes at 11 Eastern today. We haven't paid a lot of attention to it because we expect your business plan to have been made before that announcement comes out. But this, I think it was last month, the number came in where they were raising a lot more money than was anticipated, and it was a piece of bad news for the market. More supply takes prices down. Okay, very, very quiet session in both the 30-year and the note. 4 to 8, number 1. 11 to 15, sell 1. 19 to 23, sell 2. 28 to the buck, number 1. 21.25, buy 1. And 17 to 13, buy 2. Draghi probably has the biggest potential impact on treasuries today. Gold was quiet. Most markets are quiet today because of tomorrow's non-farm payroll numbers. We've got a buyer below 25, it looks like. Market is trying to trade lower. Again, Draghi, whatever he says could really influence what happens in gold. So we'll play for a little bit lower here. We'll go for 20 to 22, buy 1. 15 to 17, buy 2 until we see what Draghi says. The buy might be at 25 bucks. It gets down to what happens at 8:30 Eastern here. When he picks up the mic, 28 to 30, sell 1. 33.35, sell 2. You're absolutely correct, Jeff. It is. We're trading the June contract. And the spread was 5 points between June and March. It's usually about 4.5, so nothing out of line there. Okay, Draghi can move. One time he moved the euro 3 points. Most of the time it's about a point if he has big news. Rates were expected to be left unchanged. I see right now we've had in the X period we've had a spike right here, so euro is headed up. May have been some change in policy. We'll have to see what the written statement said. So I'll make 24.50, sell 1. Give it a little bit of room till we see what's going on. Sell 2. Draghi picks up the night in 26 minutes. He can hammer the markets. 24 even, buy 1. And buy 2. That's 23.75. So it looks like he said interest rates are going higher or could start to move higher. If that is the case, we do not want to be short. We'll go back. I'll find the statement here. I'll get through with this. Boy, lots of things going on in the Middle East. Yesterday, Saudi Arabia said Turkey was a big problem, with Iran mentioned in the same breath. So again, Turkey's not a big player. Pipelines across Turkey, they've been fighting over those for years. So tensions are building in the Middle East, and that tends to take a seller out of the market. So 60.75, buy 1. And buy 2 will be 60 1/4, 60.50. On the sell side, we've got this spill from 65, so 61.50, 61.75, sell 1, and 62, 62 and a quarter, sell 2. The oil news was pretty quiet overnight. We've got a P in the Globex, so we should retest the Globex high. A 48 fade would be appropriate. Structurally right here, selling 25s or better based on this number on a limit sell. If you really want to get short, that's where I'd put some on. Obviously that would put you into a range trader or a position trader if you're doing that. Okay, the E-mini, we're June is front month right now. Second Thursday of the month. It expires on the third Thursday of the month. So June is front. The spread's normally about 4.5 points. It was 5 when I looked at it this morning. So everything's in line. Nothing is out of the ordinary. Yesterday, you can see that late rally that came when the announcement was made that maybe Canada and Mexico will be exempt from the tariffs. If you put all of this together, you're looking at a pretty strong P. If you separate out Globex, you're looking at a, with these two splits, we got volume in the top half of that congestion area. We've got a move out of the middle. We are building volume higher than we had before. And resistance is really, really hard to find. If you go back and look at it, it's basically at 50, 60, and 70 all the way up. So 35 have that spill yesterday from 38. So our first little band of resistance is 35 to 38. So our first sell is going to be 34 to 39. Followed by 44, 49. Like I said, once we get over 40, it's basically 50, 60, 70 for resistance. So we don't have very, very accurate numbers for that, or levels that we can put a very, very sharp pencil to. That's kind of good for us because with support or resistance that far away, if we get a good trade, we can make 5 to 10 points pretty quickly. On the buy side, we're at 31 right now, so 21 to 26. I'm expecting a trading range up bias. And then we'll make 11 to 16 buy 2. Negative comments: if Mexico and Canada are put back on the tariff list this morning to speed negotiations along, market should come down. If Draghi says taper starts after September, interest rates can be raised after September. That's a tough call on the stock market. It'll hurt treasuries pretty clearly. A lot of times the E-mini, sometimes the E-mini trades with the euro, sometimes it trades against it, so that's a tough call. But higher interest rates in Europe would decrease the spread between dividends and interest rates in Europe, and so it would probably be supportive for our market on a relative basis to theirs. That's a swag, perhaps not even that, a wag. But we are in June this morning. Volume will pick up on the bell. You can trade March through the close of business today. I would be in June no later than tomorrow. Add 5 points to the numbers you've been working with in your mind for support and resistance, and you'll be there. It's going to take a bit to get everything up and posted. Going to get busy on that. I will be back with you as soon as possible. Draghi speaks at 8:30 Eastern. Thank you, Charles.